You're skilled at your craft, you take pride in your job, and because of you, our nation's trademark, Made in the USA, is respected all over the world once again. And we're telling people, Made in the USA, it's a big deal now. We're bringing it back.
Well, as President Trump welcomes Broadcom's headquarters back here to the United States from Singapore, it does raise questions about what exactly is the role of corporations in our country. Corporate America, they do have to have some responsibility, and they should bring some patriotism to the game. And President Trump, of course, has been touting the U.S. already as the most attractive place in the world to do business and only going to get better. Is that enough to inspire people to bring these companies back from overseas? Here back to discuss Veronique Rugy, along with Wall Street Journal's senior video reporter, Shelby Holliday. You know, I want to play a quick bite of a Hot 10. He's the CEO of Broadcom. If you listen to him and his rationale for bringing his company back to America, even though the stock was going down because they may pay slightly higher taxes, it will move you.
Our commitment to re-domicile into the United States is a huge reaffirmation to our shareholders, to the 7,500 employees we have across 24 states in America today, that America is once again the best place to lead a business with a global footprint.
So Shelby talked about his mother. He talked about being able to come to this country and attend MIT. He felt a sense of loyalty to America. And you have to ask yourself, should that play a role in some corporate decision making?
Well, I'll answer that in a second, but this was also a great PR opportunity, not just for him, but for the president, for the Republicans who are rolling out.
Well, of course it was a great PR part.
It was a win-win for all of them.
It was a win-win, but why did he do it? Like, in other words,
it was a great speech. It was a great patriotic speech. I think some of this has to do possibly with patriotism, but if you look at the bottom line, it has to do with money, because his company not only dodges some regulatory scrutiny, they're trying to merge with another company. They would escape this regulatory scrutiny they've been under. And their tax breaks in Singapore are set to expire. So it is a financial decision.
Singapore has a 17% rate. We're going maybe to a 20% rate.
But they had a lot of tax breaks in Singapore, and those are expiring in a couple years.
Here's the thing, though,
so it
Veronique.
does make sense to move it back here financially and because he thinks.
Veronique, you've been an advocate against crony capitalism. I mean, Mercatus has done some of the best work on that. They've brought back the Exim Bank. Boeing, I think, is going to go with President Trump to China and other places. So on one hand, we see the largesse of corporate America. They never have a problem taking. Should patriotism play some role in decision-making, even if it's a small role?
I don't want to be an advocate for this. I think corporations have a responsibility to their shareholders, to their employees, and to their consumers, and that's already a lot. And I think from the perspective of America,
what if the majority of your consumers, shareholders, and employees are American?
Well, but the thing is, like, this American versus the best we can do is create an environment, whether a tax environment or a regulatory environment, that will actually provide the most vibrant economic environment for company to do business. And I think we have to be very careful about this whole corporate responsibility. And maybe there are good talking points, there are good marketing points, but we have to be very careful to not be imposing goals or purposes to company that actually may make them less effective going forward.
And
I will
say
say
that if it takes a few pennies off the earnings, you're not down with it. That's what you're saying.
No, well, listen, if this is their choice and their shareholders are good with that and their consumers are okay with maybe higher prices, but let me tell you, I want to reinforce the idea that the most important pro-growth thing that this tax plan has done is to lower the corporate income tax from 35% to 20%. And we should be cheering this every second of the day.
Let me bring Shelby back in. I think another thing that helps with the regulatory environment as well.
Yes.
We don't necessarily have to have the lowest rates in the world if we get rid of some of those onerous regulations, particularly put on in the last 8 years.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly why you saw the market skyrocket a year ago when President Trump was elected, because it wasn't so much about betting on what he would do, but it was knowing what would not be done under a President Hillary Clinton. So regulation's a big part of it. But, companies like Apple get bashed all the time for having all this cash stockpiled overseas. Apple creates tons of jobs in the U.S. It's an innovative giant. It's something Americans are really proud of, and they just built a $5 billion headquarters. So it's not.
You ladies are
keeping
tough.
cash overseas is not always a bad thing.
I'm putting out a request for Lee Iacocca or one of his relatives for the next time we do this segment. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles.